Welcome back, my brother. How are you?
Oh, I'm alive. I'm still alive.
We're still alive. Welcome back, everybody. This is the Bodacious Rant with Burn and Rye, and I hope you guys are excited because we're gonna do our spoiler review of James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. So get your barf bags ready. Get your thinking caps on. We're gonna do it right now. What do you say?
Yeah, let's get right into it. Put on any knee pads, elbow pads, just safety equipment. To make it through this.
Or like a not a latex suit, maybe like a giant poncho that covers your head as well. So that way, if any blood splatters or anything, we could just stay dry.
Yeah, or there's a giant bubble. We'll all be bubble boys.
Just a giant bubble. Yeah, let's just do that. Get your gloves on. But let's dive into it, shall we? So
yeah,
where do we start, Bern? What was? Oh my God, I can't. There's so many good things about this movie. I don't know how. Like you give me the starting point. What do you feel?
Yeah. I mean, I think it should be said out of the gate. We both give it 5 out of 5. So this is just going to be one big long session of just you praising the movie. So
I'm high-fiving a bunch of angels as Les Lemon does.
But I mean, I guess where we could start is where any great movie starts, and at the very, very beginning, not the end, but the very beginning. We're at the script stage. I think this is honestly one of James Gunn's best movies, and because of that, I think it's one of his best scripts. And the reason I think that is because of just how economical the storytelling is. I think what they do in the very beginning, they just set up the movie right away. It hits the ground running so effectively where we know, we learn what this is. This is, a prison group who's sending into this mission, and they're all doing it to get things taken off their sentences, and they all die. So immediately we don't get to learn a lot about this first team. That's basically the cannon fodder. But when you see them, you're like, this group looks like they suck. They don't seem like their powers can do really anything at all, and they don't.
And it's funny because again, they hyped him last year like this is the whole Suicide Squad. Like Flula Borg as Javelin, Pete Davidson as Blackguard, James Gunn's brother as Weasel, Michael Rooker as Savant. It's such a crazy team. It's like, okay, this is pretty interesting for a Suicide Squad. And then the first scene just hit the beach. Pete Davidson sells him out, gets shot right in the face.
Everybody dead. Everybody dead.
Everybody gets fucked up beyond belief. Yes. It was kind of horrifying, but so funny to watch because they're just... It's just like Nathan Fillion is TDK. He's another he's a silent standout. Whereas just he has a whole suit. People are like, "What's TDK?" It's my name. It's just a bunch of letters. Every name's letters, dickhead.
All names are letters, dickhead.
And Jai Courtney, I guess that's my only regret is he wasn't in it enough as Captain Boomerang. Because I loved him as Captain Boomerang in the last movie. I was really hoping to see him get a little justice in this one. He kind of did for a split second, but then once Mongal gets on the helicopter, just splinters to the face, gets crashed into. It's like, oh my God! It was basically a recreation of X-Force in this part.
Yes. and
Task Force X, Task Force X, and just oh my God!
and that's why I think the script is so great, because as I've said in our non-spoiler review, I think this movie right away delivers on the promise of a title, The Suicide Squad, and this whole team getting massacred, and by extension Jai Courtney's character from the first movie, him dying, it all sets the tone for the whole movie, where it's like it lets you know that none of these characters are safe, and I believe that all the way through, with the exception of maybe Margot Robbie's Harley, because she's just so popular, but we know that she's not going to be killed off, but that then what are they going to do with that character? And I also do think what they do with that character later on is very interesting, and a reinforcement on her character growth from these last couple of movies. But beyond that, all these introductions to the new characters, our Team B, the other team that was not the cannon fodder, I think that it introduced them all so well. Right off the bat, we know what Idris Elba's character, Bloodsport, what his deal is, his really bad relationship with his daughter. It's not like an exact copy of Deadshot's from the first movie. It's a totally different relationship. But him and Peacemaker, when they introduce them both in the beginning, it's like their whole rivalry that it goes on throughout the whole movie is set up right away. And the King Shark, Sylvester Stallone, who did such a great job in the movie. He's set up as this like endearing kind of a dumb, but like this big force of nature, just like right off the bat. And then, like you said, Daniela Melchior, who's probably the heart and soul of this movie, where she's just set up as this person who's just has, she just seems out of place. Like, she doesn't seem like she has this meanness or like this really villainous air about her. She's just this really tired millennial that they make a joke of. But we get, again, like how he introduces these characters in the movie sets them up so well, and we know their trajectories. Like, we kind of like get to know them almost right away, and I think that was just a great job on Gunn's part.
Yeah, I mean, let's just segue into the characters themselves. So Team B, perfect. Comprised of Ratcatcher 2, King Shark, Polka-dot Man, Bloodsport, and Peacemaker. That was such a great lineup. I've never heard of, 3 of these characters. Like, actually, the only ones I really knew of were just King Shark out of this group.
Yeah.
And, so I was really glad we got to see a live action film version of King Shark, because he's been in The Flash, he's been in Harley Quinn show, and he's coming up in the new Suicide Squad game. So I'm glad we got a different iteration of him, and Sylvester Stallone did fantastic voicing him. Just I don't know how to say it, because King Shark comes off as he's just not super intelligent.
He's reading the book. The first thing we see him do is reading a book upside down, and him saying, "Me so smart."
A book read, he's reading a book, or when they're briefing, he's just like, hand, like, yes, no, wait, that's your hand, good for you. It's just like, yeah, I'm good, I got this, but I think and the other biggest standouts for me and very big surprises was John Cena's Peacemaker and Daniela Melchior as Ratcatcher 2, just because John Cena, he hasn't had the best career in film so far. He was in Trainwreck, F9, and a handful of other things, and he hasn't really had much room to shine quite yet. But I think this movie was his best thing so far, just because he was badass, he was ferocious, he was hilarious, and I'm sure the ladies were swooning at him, especially the scene in the jungle where King Shark's about to eat. King Shark's about to eat Ratcatcher 2, and he's just in there, his tidy whities bulge out, everything. It's like, oh man, just no, that's racist. That's not racist. It's your underwear.
That's what they're called, tidy whities.
But Danielle Melchior, as you said earlier, she's a Portuguese actress, and her character's actually from Portugal, so that was pretty cool. And she wasn't truly a hardened supervillain like the rest of them. She was just a thief and just kind of common criminal. So that's why Peacemaker kind of gives that thing hobbyist, millennial. He's like, you're not hardcore about this stuff. She's like, no, she's just kind of a lazy bones who just likes to hang out with her little rat buddy Sebastian. Just live life. She's just there. Trying to find her way in life. They stood out to me. They were so great to watch. And then Idris Elba, I think you put it perfectly. He's not everybody thought about, he's basically replacing Will Smith. And I hate to say it, as much as I love Deadshot, Bloodsport is the new GOAT of the Suicide Squad.
Awesome.
He was so cool. His design was weird at first, but then seeing him in action was, again, awesome. And just seeing King Shark, what he really could do, because he looks dopey and he's he's not the most athletic looking villain, but holy crap, he is the Hulk of this world right now. I haven't seen a supervillain this strong since Steppenwolf and Darkseid. So I hope he makes an appearance in Aquaman, because he is Aquaman's villain, and just maybe makes another Suicide Squad movie. And then actually another thing, Joel Kinnaman did such a great job in this too. Not that he's been a bad actor, but I feel like we finally got to see his character have a little more justice in this one. Because in David Ayer's version in 2016, they just didn't do him that well. He was a hard ass, it just didn't fit right, for what it was. He's a dick, but this movie we got to see him being dickish, but also a good soldier, what he's supposed to be.
Yeah, so, with the cast being as big as it is, it's hard to give any one member a huge bunch of runtime, because you have to divvy it up enough to where they all feel like they're being catered to, and they all get their little moments to shine. And again, that's why I think the script is so great, because like you said, not James Gunn. Well, James Gunn did do the script, but Joel Kinnaman from the first movie, he was, like you said, just this kind of generic military guy. But in here, in the moments that we do get with him, we get to know that, yeah, he might be that, but he is going to put like his morality in front of that. And unfortunately, it does lead to his death, which kind of like ironically, he does get stabbed in the heart because he actually has some heart, unlike Peacemaker, who's on the opposite end of that, which is a nice like foil to him, where he's going to put like the nation and the USA above all that, like in this twisted version of a Captain America character, which I thought was really great. So again, like they all get these like little moments that just give them like such like great time to shine. Like just a very like small scene where King Shark is like in the back of the bus, like staring out at this couple like hugging. Like you immediately know like this guy just wants friends. Like it's such an economical use of storytelling, where you're just like little moments that are like no more than like 10 seconds long, where you're just like, I know this character, I know where they're coming from, and that's why all the characters are so great.
Yeah, they shot everything beautifully. But before we get into the action and the scenery, the only thing I also kind of wish is that we had a little more Harley Quinn in this. But at the same time, it's not necessarily just her time to shine. Like you said, they do have to break up the film time, divvy it up. And I just love Margot Robbie's depiction of Harley Quinn.
Oh, yeah.
I think she does such a great job. She looks great. And this movie, I'm actually glad they didn't sexualize her too much.
Oh, yeah.
David Ayers, I know there was some people trying to justify her outfit and how it was empowering women, but like, I don't know. It looks a little too skimpy, even for something Harley would wear. So
yeah.
I like this one better, especially at the beginning where she's got her jacket on, her black and red suit. Just, oh my God, she looks so cool. I wanted more of that, but then we got her in a dress, which she looked great in too. But
yeah.
I was like, but where's the cool Harley Quinn suit? I wanted a little more Harley Quinn. But,
yeah, she does get one of the, well, at least my favorite action sequences.
She does, yeah.
Of
now
movie.
Going into the action scene, I think the best ones that stood out to me were when Task Force X is supposed to get Rick Flag, save him from the insurgents, and Rick's with extreme prejudice.
Yeah, take down all these evil killers.
It turns out to be a team of freedom fighters, and they massacre them. This was horrifying to watch, and I think this was a scene a lot of people really had issues with because John Cena and Bloodsport, they were savage. Just John Cena filleting a dude sleeping with his tomahawk. Bloodsport just, I loved his little like crossbow / slingshot in his arm, just filleting dudes. He sets them on fire. Peacemaker just shoots them and stuff.
Just fillets people with his axe, just like, oh my god.
Yeah, and he blew somebody up with a explosives ridden bullet. It was just like, oh my god. Like if they were, and I didn't think about it first, but then after rewatch, I'm like, oh, there's so many signs these guys are not soldiers.
They're just going about their day, doing laundry or like getting coffee or just taking a bath. It's like, wait, these people aren't like doing the typical like bad guy things that we see in movies.
No, and then the other one I would have to say would just be, when Harley Quinn breaks herself out of her prison just because she pisses off the general. Yeah. And we were talking about this yesterday. The scene where she breaks herself out by grabbing keys off this dude she broke his neck, and takes the keys, unlocks it with a foot. That was really her, right?
Yeah, that was Margot Robbie. I remember James Gunn saying that. He regretted shooting it the way that he did because in the film, she kind of blocks her face to do it. But no, that was Margot Robbie opening the chain with her feet basically.
Oh my god, it was so cool. I was like, damn, even that little part was super sick. But she just massacres soldiers by herself. She's a woman, just a one person fighting force essentially.
Yeah. It says a lot about the character, where you can infer based on her history with the Joker that he does leave her behind a lot whenever they've been doing crimes together, and she's learned just to fend for herself essentially, and we get to see that on full display. It reminded me a lot of her prison break sequence in Birds of Prey, where she's trying to break Cassandra's character Kane out in that movie.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that scene, but just how she has a grenade launcher beating everybody up, like, I was like, damn.
But in this one, where
Harley is awesome.
where she has, the two like machine guns mowing everybody down, and finds javelin just there, and just that paired with like the animated like little backgrounds that we have in the movie, just played into her character so well, and that action sequence was like really dope.
And the last one for me, like the best action scene, was just the fight between Peacemaker and Rick Flag, where they find out that Star the Conqueror is on Corto Maltese, and under this general's regime, he was going to use it on the world to really control it and just take over. And they find out, like, Thinker spoils, oh yeah, the U.S. is behind this, and it's like, shit, that makes a lot of sense actually. And while Rick Flag is trying to do the right thing, like, I'm not going to let my country get away with this. Like, there's this, they cross the line. But Peacemaker, being kind of a blind patriot, not in a great way, says you can't do it.
Yeah.
It was almost like the scene in Watchmen where Rorschach wants to spoil the world that Ozymandias destroyed it, but brought people together. Peacemakers think the same thing. Like, if we do this, you realize we're putting America in a way more danger than it needs to be. Or like just the world in general, cause a whole power shift, so we can't do it. And their fight scene was so epic, and John Cena is so massive, while Joel Kinnaman is just like a little more on the slender side, but fit. I thought it was a really cool, like, just well done, just bashing each other scene until, Peacemaker just, like you said, jams a piece of tile into his heart, and it's like, oh man,
yeah,
it was so heartbreaking because they were. It's like I didn't want either of them to die. I didn't want either of them to fight each other, even though Peacemaker's an asshole, but it was such a great thing to watch. Like, John Cena was such a standout in this movie. I'm so glad they brought him in for it.
Yeah, and that scene was played so well, where it was a battle of ideologies, essentially. What each individual guy decided to put first, whether it was country or whether it was just a moral right thing to do. And I did like how I think this is probably one of the best acting scenes that John Cena did. After he stabs Joel Kinnaman, where you see that like regret in his face, where he's just like he really didn't want to do it, because it seems like this Colonel Flag was a hero to his Peacemaker character, and so he played that off so well, and just the looks on his face, and yeah, I think that was a really well done sequence as well.
Yeah, and the only other thing, like, with the action that this movie had and, like, the violence, it balances out beautifully with the humor. Specifically, Harley, King Shark, and Ratcatcher 2. They were some of the funniest people throughout this whole movie. Just because Ratcatcher 2, she has the dumbest questions at times. Like, in the beginning of the briefing, she's like, 2 questions. What is that? And it's an overhead projector. And she's like, well, do you guys use it? And Amanda Waller's like, not really, no. Well, then why don't you just throw it out? Like, this is completely irrelevant, but she plays it off so well that she's just such an easygoing person, like, kind of just laid back about everything. And, King Shark, just the way he's talking, like, especially when they were doing the, infiltrating the camp to save Flag, his little sneaking past moment, he just looks so dopey and so so stupid, just hopping around. But then he eats this guy like a shark would, just horrifying. Like, oh my god. And then later when he's at the Jotunheim where Starro's kept, the fishes that he sees, the little jellyfish, like, new dumb friends.
The new dumb friends, yeah.
Sylvester Stallone did such a great job voice acting. Like, he played it off as the big oaf beautifully well.
Yeah.
And like I said, Harley just always a standout. Like, especially in the beginning when Javelin dies, he's like, you're the only one available, like, capable enough to wield my javelin. Hold it for us. She's like slapping him, like, hey, what, hold it for what? For who? Like, I need an answer. Like, this guy just told me I have this. Like, I don't know why he wants me to have it. Like,
I'd also like that the other little javelin bit where after she broke out and they were going to save her, where she's like, why do you have that javelin? I'm waiting for God to tell me. Ah, Jesus Christ. Or him. Or any of them, really.
Anybody, really. It's like, oh God, Harley, that's not what they meant at all.
And then one of the biggest laughs that got from me was Milton. I loved Milton.
Rest in peace,
Rest
Milton.
in peace, the Hobie. I just loved
silent goat of the movie.
Yeah, he was just there the whole time in the background, giving picking people up in the bus, and then later giving everybody empanadas, and then
helping with the explosives.
Yeah, and then the big hero shot, that we've seen in the trailers of them all walking in the rain. He's there in the corner, and he's just there, like you said, the silent MVP, just in the background of the scene until finally he does end up dying, as a true member of the Suicide Squad. And just that moment of, he was here the whole time. It was just like, you're right. And what was he doing there?
And Harley was just being insensitive. Just, who's Milton? There's a guy named Milton. And then she sees his corpse. Oh, Milton. Milton. I'm sorry. That's the guy. I didn't even know he was Milton. Oh my God, you're so dumb. So dumb and so oblivious, but she's criminally insane, so it works out.
That was a great sequence for me. I loved Milton, and I just loved that whole thing about him. It was a great running joke that had a really good payoff for those who were paying attention.
And then the last thing I just want to touch on is just the makeup and effects, specifically with Starro and King Shark. When you see the lighting on their skins or just how they move and stuff, the textures, the lighting, the shadowing is beyond compare. This was just spot on. You feel like you're looking at a hardened shark creature. His skin's impenetrable, and Starro looks so organic and so slimy and fishy. It just so much praise for this. Better get an Academy Award for just makeup and effects. I think they deserve it for
that. All the different body horror elements that were in there were in the lab once they break into Jotunheim, where we see all the different experiments that the Thinker was doing with all these different little sorrows and stuff, and then also too how Polka-dot Man looked when he had those breakouts, all those little LEDs in the little basically these big colorful pimples that are coming off of him. I thought that effect was really well done because it looked like it was actually part of his skin and stuff. And then as you mentioned earlier, just King Shark in general. What a great CG character. I'd put it up there with, how Thanos and the Hulk look. They just look so real. And he looks so real, how the light reflected on him, how you could see the shark texture, that rough skin that they have, just pure, all apparent. It was really well done.
Besides that, like I said, I love this movie overall. It was everything I think that should have been in the first one, and they nailed it with this one. James Gunn, you are amazing. Keep up the good work. That's all I gotta say.
And the last thing for me is just we touched on the humor, we touched on the violence, and we touched on how great the characters are. But I think just one of the biggest elements of this movie and what makes it work is just the heart. I think James Gunn has a great handle on making us really like these characters, just like he did with the Guardians of the Galaxy, where a lot of these characters, there are villains, and they probably are the worst of the worst and stuff, but they are these broken people at heart, and they all have little elements about them that someone can probably come into and be like, I do kind of relate to that, whether it be familial issues or just having these really bad traits where you kind of fall back onto them and you're really just trying to better yourself. So I think he does a really good job of giving a lot of these for lack of a better word, broken characters or characters that do have a lot of baggage with them, but to give them moments of them working past that and achieving that. With Polka-dot Man, especially with how he was abused as a child and all he ever wanted to be was a superhero, to finally get that moment at the end where he died doing the thing that he wanted to achieve. I'm a superhero. and
even Harley, when General Luna tried to seduce her, but he was saying, I want to basically just continue the reign of terror the Herrera family did at Cortona Maltese. And even though it was kind of comical, she still said, killing kids is wrong, and I have such bad taste in men, I gotta look for red flags, and that's one of them, and just I can't keep falling for this shit. She's basically just saying, I gotta keep moving on, I gotta keep growing, and you're not gonna help that, especially again. And let's not forget, they're all supervillains, so as comical as it was, it's everyone can relate to that, where it's you have your taste in men, women, whatever, and you just you know, like you know what gets you to fall for these people, but sometimes you just can't help it, and it just takes, you know, growth and maturity to keep moving on. So
Yeah.
I really like that aspect for Harley too, that her growth is continuing. It's not just, you know, back to ground zero with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then, you know, for Bloodsport, him you know, learning to opening himself up, where, you know, through Ratcatcher 2 as a character kind of being a little like a surrogate daughter in a like a quick sense, where, you know, like he's finally like allowing himself to open up, and then, you know, with him and little Rat Sebastian at the end, like
Confronting his fears.
his fears. And that moment that we get at the end with Ratcatcher 2 and her flashback, I think sums up, you know, basically the thesis of the movie so well, where we get to see her and her dad, you know, on this really high point in Portugal, where he says, you know, rats are the lowliest creatures, and if they have purpose, then we all do. So I was like, man,
that part got me choked up.
Yeah,
a little
that
bit.
was just a beautiful summation of, you know, these awful characters, but people, it goes to show that James Gunn has a soft spot for people with issues, you know. And I was like, that's such a good message to have in a Suicide Squad movie, nonetheless.
Exactly, but oh man, I'm gonna keep rewatching this. I hope to see it in theaters again sometime soon when I have the time. But overall, again, 5 out of 5 rantings. My only, you know, con is just I wanted more of just Harley and everybody, but in the best way possible. Not that they didn't give him screen time, just I just wanted more.
Yeah.
But it wasn't, but not in a bad way. But
Yeah, absolutely.
like I said, guys, if there's anything else, if you've seen this movie, you like anything you liked about it, let us know in the comments. What was a scene or a character you really liked? What character would you want in the Suicide Squad as well? You know, let us know. We'll keep that conversation going.
Yeah.
And until then, we got What If coming out this week as well.
Oh, yeah.
So look forward to that. We're looking forward to that review. And
Yeah,
Titans is also coming out. So
Yeah.
we're gonna talk about some Titans, and so more DC and Marvel coming your way.
Absolutely. More, you know, there's no lack of comic book stuff coming up, and then we got a Free Guy also coming up. So again, just a lot of good things to look forward to.
Yep, but everybody, as usual, stay bodacious, keep on ranting, stay safe out there, and I'll talk to you later, my brother.
Absolutely, man. Everybody be good, be safe, and we'll see y'all on the next one.